Recently, a contingent traveled to Ontario's capital city as part of the First Nations Land Defence Alliance to push back on mining development in the province. In part, they are reacting to excitement over a massive deposit dubbed the Ring of Fire, more than 400 kilometers northeast of Thunder Bay, that is rich in nickel, chromite, and other critical minerals. While a new deal between the province and two First Nations communities could be the beginning of a permanent road to the site, not all First Nations communities support this development, and some of them are with us tonight. Let's welcome Grassy Narrows First Nation Chief Rudy Turtle, Cecilia Begg, Head Councillor for Big Turtle Lake First Nation, and Chief Wayne Muñez of Niskandiga First Nation, who just finished his term. Thank you all for being here so much. I know you guys are very far from your communities. I want to start off with Chief Wayne Muñez. Tell us what has happened recently that created an urgency for you to bring your concerns about mining to Queen's Park last week.
Well, obviously, our First Nation has been very consistent with our position as it relates to our traditional homelands and the proposed plans that Ontario and the industry has on our traditional homelands. We have not provided our informed consent to these plans and developments that they're making. And when we joined our alliance partners here, our nations here, Chief Turtle and the other communities, I think it's an important point to bring out that our nations require us to be part of these plans. The decision-making processes of our communities has to be respected, and plans that the Premier Ford government has embarked upon, just trying to roll over and fast-track the process is clearly a demonstration that they don't respect our rights, our traditional homelands, the people's right to have a big say on these proposed developments that are going to impact our way of life, not just today, but for tomorrow.
Do you feel like you have any say?
We don't have any say in terms of the ability and the opportunity for our First Nation people, just like our First Nations and other nations that we're with here, the opportunity for them to have a big say, more or less to provide their free, prior, informed consent of our people, to be able to do these things in our own languages, for example, to talk about what's going to impact, how are those plans and developments going to impact our way of life, our rights, our interests, and so on. So clearly that's something that we're very troubled by this current government and the way the industry is pursuing in accessing our traditional homelands. It's something that's very concerning for our people, and it's gonna impact our way of life. It's gonna destroy our animals. It's gonna impact our sturgeon on our river system, and we believe that our people should have a big say, just like anybody else, because it's not just today we're talking about; it's tomorrow as well. The next generations.
Chief Turtle, I'm going to come to you. Tell me, what was the biggest concern that brought you to Queen's Park last week? Was there a final straw? What was it?
Well, as you probably are aware, that there's been mercury poisoning in our community. There's been deforestation, and finally, there's been hundreds of mining, staking, and claims in our territory, and oftentimes we just receive a notice that there's going to be a staking claim made at this spot.
Just a piece of paper.
Just a piece of paper. And that's not meaningful consultation. We would prefer that someone would, actually come and sit down with us, show us maps, and tell us what's really going on. Not just a piece of paper that arrives in the mail or a quick email saying, it's not enough. It doesn't really mean anything. So if you're talking about meaningful consultation, then they should be coming to our community, talking to us, talking to our technical teams, and really showing what's really going on.
Cecilia, you were there in Queen's Park last week, standing in solidarity as well. Tell me, what was it that brought you to Queen's Park?
We were informed that these two communities were struggling and that they had raised concern over their lands and what was happening, and that they were asking for people to step forward to be to form an alliance. And so that was done. And our chief, Donnie, couldn't be here. And he attended the first meetings, and he's been talking with these people in the past. And so, having said that, other First Nations, like when KI first had encountered the issue with the Platniks, the mining exploration company that was there in the past. And all that created so much problem for us. And there was no consultation whatsoever at that time. And there was a blockade formed, and all kinds of issues were raised. And it created so much uncertainty and so much fear as to what would happen to our lands, our fish, our lakes, everything that we hold dear to us, our lands and the gifts of water and the trees and all forms of life. They were a gift from God, and we are there to make sure that these things are taken care of. We're the caretakers, and we're to stand firm in guarding what was given to us, and not only that, to preserve what we have, so the future generations could live in peace and in harmony with nature and so on.
Very good. I want to make sure that we situate not only the Ring of Fire, more importantly, where your communities are. So let's take a look at a map of the region that we are talking about when we talk about mining and the communities involved. There in the red is the very rich mineral deposit discovered in 2007. None of it is mined yet, but explored extensively. We see where the proposal road is. On the map are some of the First Nations in the region, but not all. The communities of Martin Falls and Webequie are in agreement with the assessment for the road. Niskandiga, not, and that is where Chief Wayne Muniz joins us from today, or has come to us today. Big Trout Lake First Nation to the northwest. Also the communities of Attawapiskat and Fort Albany on the shores of James Bay in the region, and Grassy Narrows is to the south, where Chief Rudy Turtle has come from, and the Ring of Fire, of course, more than 400 kilometers north of Thunder Bay. Now let's talk about mining and the communities affected by it all. Chief Muniz, your community, Niskandiga, is closer to the Ring of Fire. Tell us, in terms of the area itself, in terms of the most concerning part right now. We talked about informed consent. We talked about sort of the lack of consultation. We talked about sort of the environmental damage. What would you say is top of the list?
I think everything that relates to our communities, it's about our people, and it's about the way our people use our traditional homelands. I think that's a very important part. Back in August of last year, we went down to the proposed crossing. We took roughly probably over at least 60 people, maybe more, young and old, elders, children, land users, community members, basically to make it known that this is also the area that we really do cherish that area. And we started our sturgeon stewardship program back in August, which we were able to provide some information to the public, and I think that's an important part of our community. It's the preservation of our way of life. It's to ensure that our people are able to practice their traditional pursuits on the land, on the river system. The Attawapiskat River system, there's only another First Nation that lives on the Attawapiskat River system, which is Attawapiskat First Nation, and us, Niskandiga. And we have an abundance of life. The river system is very healthy, and and there's a lot of life. There's a lot of moose. There's a lot of sturgeon. And imagine if development does occur without the informed participation of our people, imagine where is the sturgeon going to go? Where is the animals going to go? How our medicines are going to be protected and preserved? And that's something that our community is really concerned about, because the way this system, the way this process, like these so-called environmental processes that are underway, they're flawed. They don't take into account the First Nations protocols, the processes that they have in place, the decision-making processes of our community, and that's something that's very troubling.
I want to play the other side here just for a minute. In terms of globally, Canada's mining industry is seen as one of the safest, and there is a quite a high standard there. Does that change anything for you when we talk about sort of the fears potentially that your community has?
What's going to change for us if there is going to be change, significant change to where we are and what we're currently on right now, is the opportunity and the ability of our First Nation people, not just our First Nation, the ability to have a say, to be able to provide their informed decision, to be able to provide their informed consent to these proposed plans and developments that are going to impact us. They're not going to impact us just today. They're going to impact us forever. Now, what's going to happen to the things that we cherish and we still do in our own communities, in our own families, in our own homes? That's what we're talking about here. If this continues the way it's going now, obviously, our First Nation will unite, and we will stand firm on what we need to do in terms of standing together, standing in solidarity, helping our nations to make sure that their issues and concerns are known. More importantly, they have a big say in what's going to happen in their respective areas.
All right, Chief Turtle, I'm going to come to you. We talked about this. Free, prior, and informed consent is a specific right that pertains to Indigenous peoples and is recognized in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. It essentially allows Indigenous peoples to give or withhold consent on a project, and it may affect them or their territories, and that consent can be pulled at any time. Has any of that occurred?
I would say no, especially the tactics that have been used. As I mentioned previously, they're nothing more than short notice, an email. That's not sufficient. And
What would be sufficient?
well, like I said, like a proper visit to the community, showing us their plans, like just bringing all the information that they have, and to go over that and to look over all the information so that we actually know what's going on.
So from what I gather, it's not necessarily, if they follow sort of the guidelines that you have, this is not a clear no in terms of mining in this area.
What I'm saying is, if we have the proper information, we would make a better decision. But the fact is, they don't give us the proper information. It's just a rush job. But we've already, like our elders in the community of Grassy Narrows, they've already made up their mind that mining is not good for our territory, because mining always scars the land. They have to dig in the ground. There's no other way. Like if they're mining for lithium, gold, or whatever, they have to dig a pit, right? They have to dig. They have to dig holes, and our elders don't believe in digging into Mother Earth and harming her like that. So the elders have already laid out their opinion, and to their knowledge, they don't like mining at all.
Cecilia, I'm going to come to you. In a press release from the First Nations Land Defense Alliance, it states that Ontario does not inform prospectors which First Nations land they are staking until after the claims are purchased. Tell us, how does that happen?
The information that wasn't provided to them, maybe because they didn't come to seek our permission and the knowledge behind these lands that they're proposing to stake and to do their explorations on. And like we're saying, a face-to-face meeting and a general awareness of what mining is about and what they propose to do. It has to be based on respect, and for us to be able to understand, and if they're expecting us to give our answers as to what they're planning on doing. But then again, and the answer is firm and it's obvious that, you know, we can't allow any exploration to take place because of how much we value our lands and resources.
All right, I want to play a video. This is a video from JP Glado. He is Anishinaabe and the Prince of Mawakta Limited, a consultancy bringing Indigenous communities and business sectors together. Let's have a look.
We're not a monolith. Our communities have different socioeconomic backgrounds and aspirations, and we don't all get along all the time. We're just like any culture. We'll have the 20% for, 20% against, and the percentage in the middle that are trying to figure out which side they sit on. I mean, typically what's happening these days is we're required for 100% consensus.
So right at the end there where the audio cuts off, he says it's unreasonable standard of 100% consensus. I want to get your take on that clip there.
My take on it is, well, yeah, everybody has their own opinion, but clearly what we've been saying all along is the fact that our traditional homelands, our rights, our way of life is going to be impacted. Why wouldn't you want to reach out to communities like Niskandiga, to communities like Grassy Narrows or other communities that are not buying into what the status quo is? Like, you got to buy into this ring of fire. There's some communities that are on board, some communities that are not, and I think it clearly needs to happen where every community that's going to be impacted should be involved. And every community has their own ways, how they determine, how they decide on whether they support or not projects or processes or whatever it is. And that's what we've been saying all along is we have our own processes in place in our communities. We have our ways of doing things. We want to do things as it relates to our traditions and customs, the way we've been doing it. We want to like when we meet with our elders, it should be done in our own languages and those kind of things. And I think that's how you build understanding, right. And that's how you build consensus in your communities, in your respective areas. And that's what we've been asking for. We've been very consistent in that, and then just getting back to when we visited the legislature, I think Chief Chris Munias, Chief-elect that's starting soon, really sent a clear message to Premier Ford. What needs to happen? What needs to happen in order to begin those things on a right path? Right now, the path is not. It's not a respectful way of doing business or gaining that relationship with nations like Niskandiga. Our position is we want to meet with Premier Ford directly. I believe that's the statement he made, and that's something that the Premier and this government has to take notice and understand how they're going to do that. And we're not begging for a meeting. We're not going to beg for a meeting with him. But clearly, he has an obligation as a government to ensure that everybody is involved, including people that are not buying into whatever they're trying to do. And this ties in with our traditional homelands because it goes beyond just jobs and the prosperity that this government and the industry has been sharing to the public. Our nations have other things that we have to consider. Our way of life, how we use the land, and how things like that work in our communities. And that's the opportunities that our people should be given. When we did our visit to the legislature, our communities brought young people And there was a little girl, a 10-year-old girl, that spoke to the reporters after we went into the legislature. She was asked about those things, and she got emotional. She cried why it's so important to protect her way of life, to protect what she's also concerned about. So why would you wanna not involve her? Why would you not want to involve the communities that are actually raising those issues? The land gives us something else more than just a job and all that. It also gives us the substance of working through issues, like providing that healing within our souls, within our bodies, within our families. And that's what we also sometimes get misunderstood.
Chief Turtle, I want to come to you. When we talk about that 100% consensus, we talk about Martin Falls First Nations and Webequie First Nations, of course, are the two that have reached an agreement with the Ontario government about the road to the Ring of Fire in terms of an environmental assessment. Why is the way that they came to their agreement through consultation not satisfactory to you or to the representatives at this table?
Well, like I said, this is my third time saying, like, sending emails and a quick notice.
Was that the way that they did it to you?
I don't know their situation, but I'm speaking like what's been happening in Grassy Narrows. The way they've been approaching us has just been just a quick email, a short letter, and they call that consulting. And I can't accept that. It's unacceptable. And as I mentioned, it has to be detailed and thorough, and we need to know what's really going on, and we need answers every time they're proposing something.
When we talk about prosperity and sort of the numbers that have been thrown around the Ring of Fire, in quotes have been in the 1 trillion, in the 90 billion. I gather that doesn't mean anything if the rules aren't followed. Both recent budgets, the provincial and the federal, show commitments to mining critical minerals that the global economy is hungry for. I'm curious, how will your communities withstand that pressure?
Well, it's a matter of how you define prosperity. To us, prosperity means living a good life and keeping our way of life. Dollar value is not always, that's not how we measure our prosperity. Our prosperity comes from the land, that we want to be healthy, have a clear mind, being able to live the life we used to live. That means hunting, harvesting, and stuff like that. And the other thing is that oftentimes in the past, Native people, First Nations, have always ended up on the short end of the stick. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example. Our First Nation, this is years ago, I think one of our chiefs signed an agreement with Nelson Granite. And Nelson Granite promised jobs for our people. They promised training. They said that there would always be people working at Nelson Granite. That only lasted for a few years. Now nobody is working at Nelson Granite, and the money they've been giving to Grassy is peanuts. It's only around $2,000 a year.
Wow,
that's not, They always promise these things. They always paint a good picture, but it never turns out. And we're very suspicious. Every time a company comes to our community, we're very suspicious. We just say, So we're not easily taken. Grassy Narrows is, we just won't be deceived like that anymore.
All right, Cecilia, the last question comes to you. Ever since the Ring of Fire was discovered, you have fought to defend. You even spent time in jail defending the land here. I'm curious, how far are you prepared to go in terms of defending it, and really, what does this look like if they were to get it right? Is there a way that this looks right on all parts, and what does that look like?
Well, we had taken the first step a few years ago, and they still don't get the message. The message was loud and clear. We want to have a face-to-face meeting, to be respected as equal partners, and also to approach us at our level, and our people to be present, and also for our protocols to be respected. But we are still saying none of that. Whatever they told us at the end were accomplished, and that meant consultation and the protocols that the First Nations had developed. They weren't, after a while, they were just set aside, and and here we are. And of course, emails, as we hear, and piece of paper, that doesn't mean anything. Not everybody understands, not everybody gets emails, and then, and if the government is paying for these to be happening just so they can gain more wealth for themselves, I guess you could say, because we're just getting peanuts no matter what the deal may be. And any programs that come our way, we're not getting the amounts that will help our communities develop. And also, when they say you will get jobs, your community will get jobs, that doesn't happen. Even the smaller companies or whoever comes and works, it's only the manual labor that is the manual labor that we provide. That's it, and no training, no prior training. And if they're sincere about helping our community, they should provide training and encouraging our people, not just as custodians or as maids. And so I feel that they need to really do a good study and hear the people throughout the First Nations.
It looks like
We're not the only ones that say that, and we will stand firm by that. And I don't think any time in the near future that will change.
From what I hear at this table, the Ontario government has a lot of work to do with every individual community that has taken it. Cecilia, Chief Turtle, Chief Munoz, I want to thank you so much for first coming down here. I know you guys are very busy, but I appreciate you sharing your insights and all of the knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.